illegal to lock your children outside of the house? Do people not get like stranger danger? Do you know how many serial killers are out there who that would be their best day ever? People, use your brains! Happy apple picking day! I'm so glad y'all are here! For our new friends who are very confused, let me give a quick recap. People send in submissions of stories where they're not sure if they acted appropriately or not, and they send it into my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. Every Tuesday we pick 4 of those stories, we read them, and we just kind of determine if they're a good apple, a bad apple, or a crab apple. Every single one of us watching this have all gone through different paths of lives. We all come from different branches of the apple tree. So more likely than not, a lot of us aren't gonna agree on some of these stories, and that is okay. You can either agree to disagree, or you can talk civilly down in the comment section. Sometimes you learn something new, sometimes you teach someone else something new. Yelling at someone because they don't have the same experiences as you doesn't make them want to understand you. Just a life tip. It's important wisdom. So without further ado, let's get started on this week's episode of Am I the Bad Apple? Let's go apple picking! Am I the bad apple for telling my teacher to come in over break? I, 14 female, just finished my freshman year of high school. I did really well in all my classes and loved my teachers, all except for one. We'll call him Mr. B. B was my geography teacher and put very little effort into teaching. Basically, he just had us watch videos that somewhat related to the region we were learning about. This happened 4 times a week. He gave us one test the entire trimester, and around the second week, I noticed some problems. Me and the girl behind me got a lot of the same answers, except on my test, they were marked as correct, and on her test, they were marked as wrong. And just to make sure, we looked to see if they were different test versions, and they weren't. We told him, and he said he would fix it, but I don't know if he ever did. He never ended up putting most of our grades in at all. Fast forward to early June, I got my report card, and it was all A's and B's in all my classes, except for Mr. B's class. My grade was a 76. This really messed up my GPA, and my parents said that if I got a C, I'd have to drop out of marching band, which I loved. So I was devastated. I wanted to see why my grade was so low, so I looked online. It said I had a 0 for one of my grades. It was a test project that I turned in 1 day late. I made sure to tell Mr. B that I was turning it in, and he said he was gonna put it in, but apparently he didn't. I realized the mistake and I contacted administration. They sent a big email chain that had me and Mr. B on it, kind of like an email group chat, I guess. He didn't respond for 3 days, and the email just said,
I can't fix the grade. The year's over. I'm on break.
I responded saying, look, I understand it's your break, but I made you aware of this several weeks ago, and you said you'd put the grade in. He responded with something that made me livid.
My break just like you, and I don't want to be dealing with school matters.
That's when I lost it. I don't care that you're on your break. My parents are mad at me for your mistake, and your grade is seriously bringing down my GPA. You need to come into the school and fix it because you messed up. A day later, I got an email from admin saying that it was resolved and my grade was fixed. But now I think I could have been more gentle, because I get that teachers have lives and they need breaks too, but on the other hand, I was really upset. He's never really engaged with his students, and this was a mistake that was costing me something that I loved. So was I the bad apple? I think a lot of people, especially kids and parents, are not going to agree with me on this, but for a few reasons. Hear me out. I'm going to go crab apple on this one, okay? Pretty solidly. I feel really good about crab apple. On the teacher side, yeah, that teacher is irresponsible, okay? I have known teachers in my life who are that irresponsible with students and grades. I know it's unacceptable. Teacher's a bad apple. I'm not trying to justify the teacher, okay? Teachers should have taken their job more seriously. It's teachers like that give the rest of teachers such a bad rep. Regular teachers don't like those kinds of teachers either. They just make their lives that much harder. At the same time, when you are a student, your grades also become your responsibility. You're telling me that you could have looked online at your grade the entire semester and you never did to check and make sure that your grade was updated? You're telling me you knew that your teacher had a habit of not putting in grades and not being on top of things and not doing whatever, and you waited until after school ended to check? That's not responsible. You're in high school now. You're 14. You're old enough to take some of that responsibility and make sure that everything is up to date. Now, I'm not saying the day after you turn in your project, where's my grade? Blah, 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 still says a 0, blah, 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 blah. No, he doesn't have time to grade it in a day. Like, that's too much. That's not realistic. But if the end of the year is coming up, why would you not check and just make sure everything's in order? This is something that I've learned a lot lately, both in teaching, especially in the social media world. Like, I go into things assuming that people are going to do the job that they should be doing. And I'm finding recently that that's not necessarily the case. And I don't know if that's a new thing. I don't know if the world has always been like that. But when I do something, I want to do it all the way. I want it to be done right the first time. I'm finding that other people don't think that way. And I don't know if I can even legally give examples for that. But it's frustrating. Like, I don't understand why it's so hard to follow instructions and do your job and do what you're paid to do. Like, I get it. But because I know that, and because I know that happens when I hire someone for a job, or I ask someone to do something, or whatever, I follow up. I want this done, so I make sure that the person who's supposed to be doing it gets it done. And a lot of people in life have to do that. A lot of employees have to go after their employers. Hey, my paycheck wasn't right. Hey, this time off request, you said I could do it and it wasn't done in the system. Like, we need to fix that. At some point, you have to take up this responsibility to check on your own thing. So even though the teacher was the bad apple, I can't necessarily give you good apple either, because you also kind of dropped the ball. You didn't look at all until it was too late. And just to kind of give everyone a little bit of information, that's not something the teacher would have to go to the school for. Like, that's something the teacher would just log into the portal and just change the number on the thing. And I know that there's going to be mixed reviews on the teacher changing the grade over summer, and here's my thoughts on that. When I was still teaching, I once gave my students a little mini project at the end of the year, and they, for the most part, all did terrible. They did not put any effort into it. I gave them so much time. I was very upset. I was very frustrated. And before someone comes for me, like, there was detailed rubrics, there were detailed instructions, examples. Like, there's no reason other than the fact that they were being lazy that a lot of them just didn't do it. And when I looked at the results and everything like that, I saw that the kids who did it and did it well, it didn't really change anyone's grades. Like, their grade just kind of stayed the same that it was. And the people who did it badly, it severely dropped their grades. So I just didn't count those in the grades. Then one girl who was like 2 points away from an A. She's one of the people who did the project badly, but she was convinced that she should be bumped up to an A. For those of you that don't know, 2 points is a lot. When I say that the grades dropped them dramatically, I mean by like a point or two. That's a big drop. Being 2 points away from an A, that's far. You're not close to an A. Assignments will bump you up or down by 0.2, 0.3, 0.7. 2 points is a lot. This kid contacted my administration over summer and was like, hey,
This grade was never put in. This would have bumped me up to an A. Y'all need to fix that.
So they called me at 7 in the morning while I was in California that summer, asking me to go and change it. And I told them on the phone, look, you don't want me to change it. It means she would be dropped further. It wouldn't bump her up. She didn't do the project well. It was a terribly done project. It's not going to help her. That's why I didn't put it in. No, Mom didn't want to hear that. Mom was convinced that I just didn't want to give her an A. She insisted that I leave my trip and come to the school and meet with her. And I know a bunch of people are thinking, why doesn't admin just do it? Because it is illegal for admin, at least where I am, to change teachers' grade books. You can't do that. And the whole thing about that is admin can't change people who aren't passing to passing to help the school's like passing rates. That's where that rule comes in. But they kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. So you know what? I finally just hopped on my computer, put the thing in. She dropped further down to a B. She was now 5 points away from an A. I said, congratulations, you did the project. Here you go. I'm enjoying the rest of my trip. Like, I'm not lying to you. I don't care that much about your grade to come up with a whole elaborate story. I don't even remember why I was telling that story. What point was I trying to make? Well, anyways, the point is that I think the teacher didn't do their job. So yes, I think it was justified for the teacher to be contacted over summer saying like, hey, you didn't do your job. That's not okay. You need to fix this. He doesn't even have to go into the school for it. He just pulls out his laptop. Yeah, I get the whole, I'm on summer break. Well, you didn't do your job. Like, you gotta do that. But I don't agree with the kid waiting until after summer to look at it and not keeping up with her stuff during the school year. Like, that to me is irresponsible. You need to do that. Crabapple! I rambled a lot, I'm sorry. It just made me think of that story and I wanted to share it with you. Apple number 2. Am I the bad apple for canceling my brother's wedding? My 27 female, brother 30 male, met his future wife, Ella, 28 female, at a party 3 years ago. Honestly, we never really got along. But I always tried to put on a peaceful front because my brother seems blissfully happy with her. Ella was mean to me a lot. Like a lot. She would make comments about my weight, my makeup, especially my dog. She hated animals and for some reason hated that I would bring my lab to my parents or my brother's house. When the two got engaged, she asked me to be her maid of honor since she has no sisters and doesn't have really friends either. And since my brother seemed thrilled, I said okay. What I failed to realize when I accepted the role of maid of honor was that I was gonna be planning the entire wedding. I was booking venues, florists, jazz bands, everything. Even worse, she expected me to put my credit card down for all the deposits. Her and my brother aren't really well off, and since I have a well-paying job, I didn't mind holding down the deposits, but it was starting to add up quickly. Every time I asked Ella about it, she would say that
Everything would be paid back by her parents right before the wedding.
well, flash forward to last week, about 3 weeks before the wedding, she's unbearable to be around. She can't last more than a few sentences before snapping at someone. So when I, of course, bring up the money that no one has paid me back for yet, crap hit the fan. I asked if she received the updated receipt of everything they owed me, and she just exploded. She called me a whole line of terrible names, but the one that stuck out the most was her saying,
What do you even need the money for anyways? Your sick dog is dead now.
my beautiful boy died about a month before this after he fought the bravest battle with cancer. He was my soul dog, and I was absolutely devastated. I couldn't believe she said that to me, and I just blinked at her and simply left the room, having no energy to even respond to something so cruel. I went back to my car, and after a 20-minute silent drive home, I parked the car and immediately pulled out my phone, calling all the vendors for the wedding and canceling anything with a deposit under my card. Every single one. After about almost 20 calls, all that was left of her wedding was the dress and her flower arch. I texted my brother a short explanation, and I told him that every vendor would be contacting him, and if they wanted to keep their services for the wedding, they were now going to be responsible for covering everything. I also told him that I would no longer be attending the wedding. It was a matter of minutes before my phone started exploding, and I just turned it off. It's been a few days, and I haven't really talked to anyone but my mom, who thankfully understands where I'm coming from, and my brothers tried to call, but I feel terrible and I'm a little afraid to face him, both about what she said and about what I did. I know what I did was extreme, but I also just couldn't sit by and practically enable her cruelty anymore. But I still feel bad that I ruined my brother's wedding also. Was I the bad apple? No. I don't know if it caught on camera or whatever, but when she was talking about her dog, like, I almost started crying. Those who know me know that I have 2 fur nuggets, Milo and Vixie, and they are the most important thing in my life. And we had some medical scares with Milo, and I had just been besides myself because they are my world, okay? And if something were to happen to either of them, knock on wood, just, making sure, and someone taunted me about that, I absolutely would not associate with someone like that. And honestly, I have a feeling that she isn't planning on paying you back for that money. And if she's going to treat you that way, whether she was planning on paying you back or not, I don't think it's your responsibility to put in your credit card on deposits for someone who's going to talk to you that way. And it's not even just about the dog. It's she makes fun of your makeup and your weight. That's gross. I genuinely hope this situation opens up your brother's eyes to see how she treats his family members before it's too late. Like, I hope he wakes up. I genuinely hope he realizes, oh, I love my sister and I would never want someone speaking to her like that. This is the kind of person that I want to invite into my life. I wouldn't attend that wedding either. I can see myself doing the same things, but I'm so sorry that she spoke to you that way. Like, that is so gross and inexcusable. And oh my gosh, my heart is just hurting for the poor doggy. Oh, hey, Miss Vix, that's perfect timing. She's gracing us with her presence. You're so sweet. Oh my goodness, I love you. Anyone who makes jokes about something happening to someone's pets automatically is the worst kind of apple in my book. I don't respect them. I don't like them. I don't want to be around them. That's so mean and cruel. Not here for it. Apple number 3. Am I the bad apple for deleting my entire family off of Facebook and no longer associating with them? I, 35 female, have 4 siblings from my mom. I live about 30 to 45 minutes away from 2 of my brothers, and anytime there's a get-together, I have to travel to them with my 6-year-old. It's not easy for me to always travel to them, especially when my son was younger. But I still make the effort because I want to see my siblings. My mom ended up passing away in December 2020, and we decided to have our traditional Christmas Eve at my brother and sister-in-law's house. I then offered to host Christmas Day as I didn't have anywhere to be, and since we all missed Thanksgiving dinner together, I thought it would be nice to cook. It was just an open invitation to all my siblings. I wasn't expecting my 2 sisters to go, and then one of my brothers said he wasn't sure, which was fine with me. I kind of expected it, but my other brother and his wife said they would definitely be there. I was super excited to cook for more than just me and my child and my fiance. And I also figured that it would distract from the somber feelings of losing my mom. As I was finishing up making dessert on Christmas Day, my sister-in-law calls me and she canceled our plans at the last minute. The whole dinner was completely cooked at this point, and I made so much food with anticipation of people coming. I was livid, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want to ruin the rest of their day and their night. So I just tried to make the best of the situation. But then I invited them to my son's birthday party in February, and they said they would come, yet again canceled last minute. I felt terrible for my son who just wanted to see his aunt and uncle. And I was always one to call and make an effort to see my siblings up until this point. Not anymore. I was invited to their house for Easter, and I decided I wasn't gonna go and I would just have my own Easter, hoping that they would get the hint, but they didn't. I was then invited to my brother's birthday party in June, and of course I went because I actually want to see my siblings. And now this is how it's been for the past 3 years. I drive and travel to see them whenever I'm invited and whenever I'm able to, but when it comes to me and me wanting to host stuff and me inviting people to things, they either don't respond or say they aren't coming or just cancel on me last minute. Yesterday, I finally had enough. I'm always the one who calls and texts and invites people to things, and no one else seems to care. No one else wants to maintain our relationship as siblings. So, I decided to delete my entire family off of Facebook. My siblings, my cousins, my grandma, everybody. I even left all the group chats. I'm just tired of having these feelings of resentment, anger, hurt, all of it. I feel like not having them on social media is just gonna be best for my new no contact rule. But someone told me that I was overreacting, and now I just need to know. Was I the bad apple? This is another one where I feel like there's gonna be a lot of people that disagree with me, and that is okay. I definitely think it's justified to feel like your siblings aren't putting in the effort to talk to you, to maintain your relationship. I definitely feel the frustration of, hey, I put forth all this effort to have you guys over and you just didn't show up. That's messed up, okay? That's rude. I feel for you. You should feel frustrated about it. But you said in your story, well, I didn't say anything about it. Why would you not communicate? Like, they can't read minds. You even said again, well, I didn't show up to Easter hoping they would get the hint that I was upset, but they didn't get the hint. Okay, so they're clearly not understanding your frustrations. Why would you not talk to them? I don't think there's anything wrong with being frustrated with the way that your relationship is going. I think it's very valid to feel frustrated and underappreciated and undervalued and kind of left behind. Like, these are very valid feelings. But I feel like it's kind of contradictory when you're like,
well, I care about maintaining a relationship. Well, I care about this. Well, I want to do this. But no one's getting the hints that I'm dropping, so I'm just cutting them all off and I want nothing to do with them ever again.
those two don't add up for me. I just feel like when you're acknowledging to yourself, oh, well, they're not getting the hints that I'm dropping. I feel like just going no contact because they can't read your mind is a little excessive. Now, it's your right to do so. Like, if you decide that you just don't want to have them in your life anymore, that it's not healthy for you to be looking for their approval and things like that, like, that's your choice. If you want to go no contact, that's totally something that you can do. Like, that is your life and it's up to you. I just don't necessarily agree with the whole,
I care about my family more than anyone else, and because they can't read my brain and see what I'm upset about and I'm refusing to tell them what I'm upset about, I'm going no contact. Because I'm the victim.
it doesn't make sense to me. Do you want to maintain a relationship with them or do you not? Do you want them to like understand your frustrations and then fix their behavior, or do you not? Because none of the actions you're showing me tell me that you want a relationship or you want them to understand. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't add up for me. So if you genuinely are hoping to maintain relationships with your family and fix the situations and things like that, then yeah, I don't think that blocking everybody one night out of the blue is the right thing to do. That's not gonna fix anything. And like, what did your grandma and cousins do? I don't understand how that's related. You didn't mention them the whole story. I'm very confused, and I feel like you had these feelings of resentment and anger that you didn't deal with, and you just kind of let them explode into kind of an action that didn't really make sense for what at least what you say that your goals are. So just going based off what you said you wanted to happen, like you wanted them to show up, you want to maintain relationships, you want to see them, blah, 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 I'm staying with Crabapple because I don't think that was the right call for those goals. But you guys let me know if you agree with that or if you don't agree with that. Again, I'm not saying that cutting family isn't a personal choice. Like, that's her call. That's her choice. But the reason I'm going Crabapple, she's like, these are my goals. I want them in my life, so I'm cutting them off. Like, that just, it doesn't, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 4. Like, it just doesn't for me. I would just ask, why do you not come to see me? Why do you not come to my stuff? Why do you cancel? Why, like, this hurts my feelings? Like, just ask questions. I say this a lot. You'd be surprised how much of your anger will be quelled when you just ask a question. I get plenty of people in my comments all the time that just make assumptions about me or something that I'm doing or blah, 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 blah. If they were to just ask a question, they would see that the story they came up with in their brain isn't reality, and they wouldn't be so angry at a random internet person. Just ask questions before you get upset. Apple number 4. Am I the bad apple for locking my wife out of the house at night? Plot twist, it actually wasn't me, it was my wife, but I still need to know. I, male 39, have a 16-year-old son with my wife, female 40. This incident happened a few days ago and we're all still mad at each other. I was on a work trip, so my wife was at home with our son. When I got back, I found out that my son had been hanging out with his friends and they convinced him to drink some beer and he got a little drunk. I'm not saying what he did was right. He and I definitely had a talk about it and it's fine now. The problem is that when he came back home and my wife found out, she was furious and kicked him out of the house and refused to let him back in. He didn't get back into the house until the morning. All night long, he was banging on the doors and the windows, begging for her to let him in, and she wouldn't. When I found out, I was furious. Regardless of what he did, she made a slightly drunk teenager stay outside by himself at night. Something horrible could have happened to him. We had a huge argument over it. I asked her, how the heck did you think that was okay? She just kept saying, well, it's his fault that he drank alcohol. My wife isn't really talking to me now, and my son isn't talking to my mom, and she just keeps insisting that she did the right thing and that I don't know what I'm talking about. I feel like what she did was crazy, and so now I need to know, who's the bad apple? You're 40 years old and you think it's okay to lock a child outside at night? Have you seen true crime documentaries? What is wrong with you? I remember there was one where the serial killers like found this kid outside at night. I can't remember why her parents like made her go outside. I can't remember. But like she never came back home. People are crazy out there. Oh my gosh. Lots of things could have happened to that poor kid. We had a story like this a while ago where it was a bunch of siblings who locked out the step sibling, right? I remember. And the dad of the kid who was locked out went berserk, and the stepmom was like, well, it's just a prank. It's not just a prank. That can be really dangerous. Are you kidding me? Is that even legal? Like, can't you legally get in trouble to doing that to your child? I just can't fathom how a grown adult would think that was okay. And furthermore, like, listen, I don't have kids, okay? But that is not the way that you handle a kid doing something like that. In my opinion, where I don't have children, of course. I know the keyboard warriors are like, get ready! I so respect those parents that tell their teenagers, like, hey, if something happens when you go to a party, like, don't drink because you're not supposed to and against the law and you're not allowed to. But if you do, you call me and I will come get you, and no questions asked, and we'll talk about it in the morning. But you know, I would rather you call me and trust me and don't do anything dangerous than to risk getting in a car intoxicated or to risk doing something stupid. Like, I so respect those parents for putting safety first above like discipline. Because when a kid's in trouble, like really in trouble, you want them to feel like they can call you and ask for help rather than be so afraid of you and your reaction that they just don't, and then something happens to them. And here in this story, the parent is literally causing something to potentially maybe happen. Wild. Okay. I don't even feel like I need to really explain this. Like, I assume we're all on the same page. The only question here is like, who are we giving the apple to? Because it's the guy, it's the dad who's like, I'm mad at my wife and this is what happened. But he asked about the wife. Like, that's the only question that I have, is who is getting the apple that we're putting in the corner? And it matters, okay? Because depending on what this apple is depending on if we get the curse. Longtime apple pickers know that the curse is it 2 apples, a good apple and a bad apple? It is. And we're dangerously close, okay? So how about this? How about you guys tell me, what is the awarded apple? Like, not even just because of the curse, because I'm so confused. Because he's like, hey, here's my perspective of the story, but I'm asking about someone else's action, and I don't know if we've really had that before. What apple would you assign? Like, of course, like, I'm giving the dad a good apple and the mom a bad apple. Like, 100%. 100%. That's not changing. But what do we assign in the corner? So let me know in the comments which apple we assign to the corner and why. Is it because the question was about the mom, or is it because the story came from the dad? Which apple do we go with for the corner? I need you guys to tell me. Now, while you all are figuring that out and typing away into the comment section, let me figure out your well wishes for next week. Or for this week. Yeah, this week. So, it's about to be back to school season. So, I hope whether you're a student or a teacher or a parent, I hope your back to school weeks go well. I hope they go smooth. I hope you enjoy your classes. I hope you have good teachers, supportive parents, all the 9 yards. And if you are not a student or parent or teacher, I just hope that you have a smooth week at work. Okay? You all deserve it. I mean, everyone does. I'm trying to hit all the boxes, hit everyone. We got a large range of audience here, y'all. I hope you find joy in what you do. I hope it's smooth. I hope you have little to no problems spring up out of nowhere. Those are my well wishes for you. If you want to submit your story for a chance to be on Am I the Bad Apple, you can do so at my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple, or at my Discord, where the link will be down in the description. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you guys next week. Bye, my lovelies. Mwah!